Good morning, everybody. My name is Chris. I'm your session host today. This is session 1235 on day 3 of JNUC, Mechanics of a Migration. As a reminder, if you have any questions, please use the JNUC app. We have a Q&A section for this session. Any questions that we have, I'll read out at the end. And if we have questions in the room as well, I'll come and find you. And with that, here we go.
Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for coming to our session, Mechanics of a Migration. First, let's go ahead and introduce ourselves. Hello, my name is Oscar Reyes. I work at Texas A&M University. I also graduated from A&M back in 2018 with a computer engineering degree. I have been working there since 2015, first as a student worker, then went full-time as a developer with architecture, and then now I'm in the unified team that manages the Macs on campus. And also I'm one of the few people level 400 certified on campus, so here we are.
Hey everyone, Andrew Barnett. I've been working in the IT field since 2011. Started out as a student worker at Purdue University and now currently working on the unified team with Texas A&M.
Howdy, I'm Kyle Gilmore, fighting Texas Aggie class of 2009. One of the system administrators on the unified team. I've been with A&M for the last 15 years and been working with Jamf for the last about 5. So to start the presentation, we're going to take a look at the building of the Texas A&M Unified Jamf instance. We're going to look at some of the tools and some of the processes that we developed as we built out the environment for the campus. To keep things running smoothly, we have 2 separate Jamf servers in place, one for testing and the other for our production server. This setup allows us to thoroughly test everything before we go live in production. Beta testing is a crucial step for us that we use the test server to assess compatibility and function of new applications as we're getting ready to deploy them to production. We have a group of test users that we're able to gather feedback from and make any necessary adjustments before we deploy it to production. Once all of our testing is complete, we go through the change management process. We're responsible for providing all the documentation for the proposed change, and then providing it over to the change advisory board. And then once that's done, we actually clone everything over to our production server and get it ready for deployment. By following this, we're trying to maintain a reliable and efficient system and provide the best user experience for all of our users. Security has become a top priority for us, and device compliance plays a vital role in that. We've directly mapped all of our security controls and policies directly to the controls inside the Texas A&M control catalog, which is a big collection of security and privacy controls that are required at the university. By doing this, we can effectively monitor our security policy or security posture on all of our devices directly from the console without actually having to do any further assessments. This also is a big benefit for our distributed teams that previously had to do these assessments on their own and relied on different processes that are required at the university. But now it's all on our team and they're no longer required to do it. Another great thing about this is because we have these policies applied globally across all of our devices, there's a consistent user experience for everybody using a Texas A&M device, no matter what device it is. For patching, we've chosen Installator to do the deployment and patching of our software in our environment. We've built out 3 different options of how applications are patched: daily, monthly, and on demand. with our daily schedule. Patching runs every single day silently in the background. If the application that needs to be patched is running, fails out gracefully to avoid any kind of disruptions. Our monthly schedule sends alerts to users notifying them that the application needs to be closed in order to install the patch. This makes them aware and lets them plan around what they need to do in order to get the app closed. Then finally, we have the on-demand option, which provides the flexibility for users to initiate their patching whenever it's most convenient from them from self-service or the support hub. Regardless of which patch cycle is being run, every user receives communications via a combination of dialogues built into Installamator and Swift dialogue. This enables a clear and informative communication about what's going on throughout the whole process, ensuring a smooth user experience. Next, we'll let Andrew talk a little bit about that.
Okay. So, just in case you're paying attention, the remote is working.
Working real good.
It is no longer working.
It's kind of working. Oh, no. There we go. All right, we're back. All right, so if you were at the talk yesterday, this might be a little bit of a recap of what Stephen talked about. But one of the new features we've implemented into the unified instance is what we call the support hub. So the Texas A&M Support Hub is a user-friendly platform built using the support app. It serves as a centralized hub for end users, providing them with a range of convenient features to enhance their support experience. So the support app is developed by a group called Route 3 and can be found on GitHub for anybody to use. The application is a macOS menu bar app built for organizations to enable end users and IT pros to see basic diagnostic info at a glance and proactively notify them to easily troubleshoot issues. It can also offer shortcuts to access support channels or other university resources they might need. We chose Support App because it's a great tool for Mac admins to give an insight and access for all the users. It has many customizable features to tailor to specific environments that can also be friendly for anyone to use. So the Texas A&M Support Hub provides a centrally located platform for end users to have access to many features offered through the new unified instance. Next, we'll break down some of the features we provided within the app. So here's a look at how it's broken down. We have the default section and the custom section. So in the default section, you have things like the computer name, Mac OS version, last computer reboot, and network info, and there's a few more other options we didn't include. So each button except for last reboot can actually open a section of the system settings for the user to get into. And we use this just because it helps for different environments we might deploy to, like labs or personal computers. So Support App also has options for the custom buttons, which we've taken the approach of creating the custom ones to enable the end user and IT pros across campus, including things like what we call the health check, requesting admin rights, contact IT support, opening self-service, chat with Help Desk Central, providing feedback, and checking for third-party application updates. So these buttons are built on different policies, scripts, URL redirections, and other things for a seamless experience that the end user doesn't have to see. And it gives a short overview. We'll see some of the custom buttons next. So with that functionality of the custom buttons, we were able to deploy a policy through Jamf that we're calling the health check. So with just a click, the end user now can, either with their end user or IT support, can call on new policies, update the inventory records for their device, and also check in with Jamf Protect to see if there's any other policy that they need to be getting. So this way, this ensures that the functionality is up to date and they're in compliance with the latest standards, promoting a more secure and efficient working environment. So this is a dialog within the button that's created by using a short script along with a few Swift dialog windows. That way the end user and the IT pro know what's going on in the process. And then by providing this option, we've noticed that it's empowered the user to take more control of their device for updates and other issues that they might be seeing, and also gives the IT support a little bit more collaboration with the end user. So it saves them time, but also saves time with the troubleshooting process in the end. So now let's look over the Request Admin button. So the Request Admin button is actually powered by SAP privileges. So here's a short clip of what you might see if you've used it before. I'm sure a lot of people have. So SAP, if you haven't used it before, privileges is built by SAP. It's a macOS designed app built for users to get timed interval Mac admin rights. So as you would see, the pop-up would occur, moving all your windows out of the way. You would request your admin rights. the dock icon should change if you're admin elevated or if you're standard user, and then you would get a successful notification saying that you've changed your rights. So for what we did, we actually enabled it into a central location for admin rights inside of the support hub. So you can see here, all they have to do is find that centrally located button to add for admin rights. And some of the benefits that we've seen is there's less admin overhead. So like IT pro doesn't have to go to someone's office and help them do it, or over a remote session or some sort like that. It's an easily identifiable location for anyone to find. It's quick access and timed intervals, so every 15 minutes, if they need it or don't need it, it just drops off or comes back. And then the demotion and elevation are reflected inside the support hub also, but also inside the privileges app. So no matter which one they use, you can see what level they're at. So with some of the other customized buttons we used, we've been able to provide some access for IT support contact info directly from the device. So that way the end user can get in contact with their local support or the central help desk. We've also added the functionality to check for updates for third-party apps with a single click, so now they can conveniently look for latest patches or updates or other enhancements that might be pushed out by their IT team or by the unified team. And with the self-service access, this is just a button to get to the Jamf self-service where we're managing, I think, over 150 to 200 apps. And now there's also the chat with HDC, which is Texas A&M's Help Desk Central. This will open an online chat support session with either the IT help desk of their local support or Help Desk Central through a Beyond Trust remote support session. And we have created a feedback loop inside the support hub. So if anybody wants to provide feedback on anything they're seeing inside the process, or if they see an issue, or maybe if they just want to ask for like new software added to the support hub, they can go through that way. That way they can, keep in touch with us and we know what's going on inside the process for either migration or just, standard day-to-day use. Next up, let's look at some of the Swift dialogue we've added into the process. So now, all of everybody's favorite notifications. Swift dialogue is a purpose-built tool. I'm sure a lot of you have seen it before, but if not, it just shows informative messages via scripts or like feedback from user experience. It's available on GitHub for anybody to use. It's built on Swift. It's built by Bart Reardon. I think he's been here a few times, so shout out. And it's also available for anybody to grab. You can build basically anything you want with it. It's just a little bit of a learning curve. So we've noticed there's an enhanced end user experience using these dialogues, showing things like installations of apps and updates, customized informational windows, and notifications, or maybe even custom surveys. So we've enabled Swift Dialogue to be used with our migration workflow as well, and enrollments that Oscar will go over a little bit later in the presentation. We've also been able to create more user-friendly windows without being too disruptive. That is a personal choice by some people, but we've also been able to use this tool by creating custom workflows for things like user input or survey windows that after the migration, or if we were having new OS updates or something, we can push out surveys and ask the person directly instead of someone ignoring our email. And then what other things we've used is be able to get info relayed back to Jamf Pro, so that way we don't have to always just build an extension attribute or something else. It'll just directly come in so we can see what they've put. And another major benefit we've seen is the active Swift Dialogue community. So if anybody uses the Mac admin Slack, there's a large community on there that a lot of people talk about topics and other troubleshooting, and just the GitHub community as well. There's a lot of people pushing out new pull requests and whatnot, so it's been a great benefit. So how do we get all this data and stay informed with what we're doing? So when the integration of Power Automate, we've been able to receive feedback through Teams, email, and other things like auto-populating data in Excel. So we've created a more seamless and efficient feedback loop by utilizing these tools. We've seemed to bridge a gap between communication platforms. So it enabled us to gather more feedback in the various resources and other sources in real time. So through Teams, our members can now receive instant notifications regarding customer feedback, Jamf server information, and information on migration workflows that we've been seeing. This has promoted more collaboration and ensures valuable input is captured promptly in real time. One of the other features we've seen with Power Automate is its ability to automatically populate data in Excel and other Google Sheets and whatnot. So whenever feedback's received by us, relevant info and details are automatically captured and organized inside of those data sheets, eliminating the need for the manual data entry that we've done before. And it's helped us reduce human error and also ensures accurate and reliable data collection. So with the combinations of these capabilities, we've been more empowered to create a comprehensive feedback system that's more efficient, inclusive, and data-driven. So with that immediate feedback through Teams and email, coupled with that automatic data Excel, we can gather insights quickly and analyze them more effectively. And we'll let Kyle now talk more about the migration.
So through previous experiences with the existing tenants and the assessments that were conducted by Mesa, one of the Jamf's partners, there were many unique cases that were identified that we would need to create solutions around. Two workflows that we'd like to share today are our solutions for 80-bound devices and a workflow that was created for deploying of iPads to employees within our residence life department. One of our early workflows developed for the campus was the iPad deployment within RestLife. In the past, assignments of users and the deployment of applications were performed completely manually directly from the Jamf console. However, using Jamf setup and reset, the entire process of device deployment and return has been transformed into a fully automated process. As users go through the setup process for the first time, they have to get the device online. There's no requirement for this to actually happen on campus as long as there's a connection to the internet. By logging into the iPad with our Texas A&M credentials, it both verifies that end users are authorized to use the device and assigns them as the user inside the Jamf console, eliminating the need for manual user assignments. As soon as the device completes its enrollment, the user is asked to set a passcode that meets Texas A&M complexity requirements. After that, applications are deployed based on a role selected inside of Jamf setup for each user. Based on the selection, the necessary applications and tools are automatically deployed to their device, ensuring that they always have the required resources to perform their role effectively. And then once the semester comes to an end, users are able to reset their device with a single click to prepare it to be redeployed for the next semester. By automating this deployment, Residence Life was able to benefit from the efficiencies created by Jamf Reset and Setup, streamlining the whole process for them and completely removing any kind of manual remediations required from their administrators or their end users. Another part of the migration was removal of any kind of Active Directory binds that were on computers in their old instances. Originally, the workflow was designed to just detect mobile accounts and then initiate the Jamf Connect demobilize workflow. One thing that originally wasn't planned for was a device that was bound to Active Directory but didn't actually have any mobile accounts because they had actually moved to using either Nomad or Jamf Connect. While it was relatively uncommon, it was definitely something that we actually had to make some changes for. Next, I'll hand it to Oscar.
Okay, so let's talk about the migration. One thing that I want to point out here, there are 4 stages, and there's one very important thing for everything to be successful here. There is a package. We have a package that takes care of the migration workflow, and we worked with, like Kyle said, one of the Jamf partners, Mesa, in order to be able to get this done. At the beginning, we had a little package that was very simple. It just gave users a notification with some instructions. We have iterated on that, and now we have a package that meets the communication requirements of our marketing team, as well as the technical requirements from us as admins to make the migrations easier on the users and easier on us. At the beginning, this package was very hard to update deadlines for, and we had to remake it in Composer every single time we wanted to update a deadline for a server. The final iteration is a dynamic package that you only have to change the date in the name of the package, and the package itself reads its own name in order to change the deadline, and that just gets uploaded to each of the origin Jamf servers. And so that is one of the things that goes through the migration, and we're gonna see how that looks afterwards. But in this context, let's talk about what is an origin server. The origin server is each of the 18 servers that we had to migrate into the unified ones, and we're migrating computers from all of those into the one new one that we're just managing centrally now. With that in mind, this package is now uploaded, and we have to start preparing the origin servers, right? And at this point, one thing that you have to keep in mind when migrating is Apple School Manager or Business Manager, Apple Business Manager, regardless of which one it is for you. For us, it's Apple School Manager. You have to move the computers in Apple School Manager into the new MDM server. Otherwise, even if you migrate it, this will not work. They'll just get put back right where they came from, and like nothing will happen. And so we have to start preparing configuration profiles in order to prevent unwanted notifications. We want to start preparing the policies that will be used to prep the computers for migration, as well as the policies that will be used to actually migrate the computer. We need to make smart groups to figure out what things have to be deployed where. And finally, also, we mentioned configuration profiles. Extension attributes, sorry. We need to start collecting extension attribute information so that we can just kind of see where things are at. So after we started the prep, we're gonna move to stage 2, the deployment of the prep policies. So at this point, we're gonna start deploying the migration prep policies across the server using the groups that we made in stage 1. All these different things vary among the servers because some of them were simpler, some of them were more complicated, and we had to solve different issues depending on which server we were at. And the policies will either uninstall or fix software that would interfere with migration. The profiles needed to prevent migrations will also be deployed in order to prevent notifications will also be deployed, as well as we will start collecting extension attribute information to keep track of where computers are at in the prep process. So again, the policies vary across the servers, right? And so let's move on to stage 3. Once devices start meeting a predefined state criteria, their MDM profile will get pulled from the device. This will make it so the migration policy starts running on the device. And even though there's no MDM, the binary is still running locally on the computer and it's still talking to the server, which this allows the migration to happen. Now, if your binary is broken, be careful because you might have issues. The migration policy. The policy technically consists of 4 different packages. The packages just make sure that all the files that are needed during the migration process exist on the computer so that once we start the migration process, everything goes well, the GUIs look nice, and that everything is just clear for the end user. Let's see. So once all that is down on the computer, the migration script starts running, and it takes care of uninstalling any software like Jamf Connect, NoBand that might cause issues with the migration. And then it also takes care of making sure that we are tagging each device and so that it tells us which of the 18 servers it came from, and then we can move it to the correct site in the unified server. And after that, pop-ups start coming up, and the users start getting the notification for the migration. Finally, stage 4. So for stage 4, we are going to be finishing in the new server. At this point, the computer has gotten enrolled in the new server, and we unbind any computers that were bound to Active Directory at this stage, and we put Jamf Connect back on the computer. Because at this point, we want to make sure that people are signing in with their Texas A&M account instead of any local account. And we also make sure that we are syncing their Texas A&M account to their local account on that computer so that it doesn't appear as they lost data. It'll just make it so that the account logs into that local account that they've been using for years or however long they've been using it. Once we're done doing that, we are gonna restart and have them log back in with the Texas A&M account through Azure and Jamf Connect. And then once all that, they're inside, they'll see a little video, the migration is done, and we have them open up self-service, and in there, they'll get some documentation of like the new tools and things available to them, and features as well, and then also applications, all the 100 plus 150 applications that we have in there. And then the features that Andrew was talking about, Kyle were talking about, all of that is just available to them now. So let's take a look at what it actually looks like. This is the first screen of the migration process. This is what they get once the computer reaches that state that we want it to be in to start migrations. At this point, there's just one button to get started pretty much. And we're just gonna have to go through it. Then they get a video, which is, this video is about 30 seconds, and it's just instructions. This is what they would have to do to go through the migration process, and they can watch it or they can ignore it, because next, there's also more instructions. And so we wanna make sure that things are clear, right? That they know what to do. We're trying to give them as many tools and ways possible that this goes right. And so at this point, we're telling them, go ahead and go to the little notification at the top right, press the little options, drop-down menu, press details. From there, it should take them to the profiles, where in the profiles, they'll get asked to allow for management, and they'll have to click OK. OK, yeah, there we go. Which then this prompts for an admin prompt. This may or may not be an issue, but with our package that we have, there's a part in the workflow and in the policy that just elevates the user to admin. So even if they're at some point they were not an admin in their department, this just makes them an admin. So this is a non-issue. It's just gonna let them do it, and then they put in their local account, and the profile will get installed. At this point, all the profiles will start flowing in. Compliance and all that fun stuff comes into the device. And then you get this little screen just letting you know, hey, something is happening in the background. There's a little loading bar at the bottom. Just kind of let the computer do its thing. There is more mentions to our documentation for them about the support hub, and just extra things that they have, the application, self-service. And once this is done, Jamf Connect takes over. That part gets closed, and this is when we start forcing them to sync their Texas A&M account with their local account. They will enter their Texas A&M email here along with their password. Then we will confirm their local account password, which will do the sync. And then at this point, it will force a restart. Once the restart is done, they're back in. They logged in through Azure and Jamf Connect again with their Texas A&M account. Now they get a little video. This video is something that the marketing team did for our migration to welcome users to the unified server. And let's see if this works. If this goes next. And one more. There we go.
Technology Services has reimagined Apple device management at Texas A&M University through the power of Jamf, an industry leader in modern Apple device management and security. With Jamf Connect, your NetID is enabled to sign you into your device. Jamf Pro helps you keep your operating system and applications up to date. The Support Hub shows you important and timely information about your Mac, connects you to helpful IT resources, and is where you may submit feedback about your Mac experience. Through the Self-Service Hub, you gain 24/7 access to the most popular apps and resources you need for your Mac with one-click installation. Through Automation Intelligence, your Mac will let you know when a version of software may no longer be supported, and you may need to upgrade. and provide you clear instructions for installing the latest version. Through integrations with privileges, the Support Hub grants you just-in-time elevation of your user account to an administrator so you can successfully authenticate when prompted for admin credentials, securely ensuring no disruption to the important work you do at the university. Technology Services has assembled a team of Mac experts to form the Unified Apple Device Management Team, dedicated to providing you the best Mac experience so you can produce your best work for Texas A&M. To learn more about these features and other capabilities you'll experience on your managed Mac, visit tx.ag/Jamf.
Sweet. So that's the video. Thank you. So after that little video welcoming them is done, we get one final screen telling them, hey, welcome once more. Again, some more documentation to the new features, which is technically the same one that we showed them before. But the documentation for what they can do now, and now they have admin and all that stuff, admin on demand. And we force them to open up self-service here so they can start exploring. They press that button, and self-service opens up right now in the documentation page, which, fun fact, this is actually just the bookmarks tab in self-service that we just renamed it to help. So these are just URLs to our documentation inside the university that we give them. And then from here, they can also go to all applications and explore all the 100 plus applications that we have for them. And that is it. They are done at this point. They have been migrated. And thank you for listening. that should be it.
All right, great job. We do have a few questions that came in. Some of them you might have answered during the presentation, but we'll go ahead and recap them here. First question, could you share some of the configurations minus any private info and customizations for the support app?
Sure. So some of the custom things we did, like the health check, it's basically just, very low level. It's basically just a recon and checking for other policies and whatnot, and then it also checks in with protect. It's really just like a 4-line script that does that and then runs with another part that when you open it, it'll tell you the last time that a check-in actually happened. So it's actually pretty simple, but just looks fancier on the front end. Some of the other stuff is mostly just like for contact support, and other things are just a URL opening a web page basically. So those are pretty simple.
About the lab one we did.
Yeah, we did another configuration actually for one of the major labs on campus. I don't know how many computers there are. Yeah, maybe 2,000-ish computers across campus. Well, 2,000.
For the whole lab,
Total,
but
yeah,
like Apple computers, maybe like
yeah.
50.
50
Yeah.
something.
Well, either way, we did some other custom things like that with configurations like opening stuff in VMware. We're working on getting them set up for their like home directories and whatnot, so that way it's just in a central place for them to use. But we can go into more detail later if anybody wants to ask questions.
Excellent, excellent. I did have a couple of questions specifically about that app. If you could just recap, what the app is and where people can go to get it.
Yeah. So the actual app name is Support App. We just called it Support Hub for Texas A&M. You can find it on GitHub. Anybody can get it and download it for free. It's developed by a group called Root 3. I think they're out of the Netherlands. But yeah, it's a free app that anybody can get in there and use. There's a lot of documentation. There's also a big group on Mac Admin Slack. So if you guys have like other custom questions and whatnot, anybody can get on there and chat about it.
And then overall, that thing, just to add to that, it is an application and a configuration profile in the background that's controlling everything.
Yeah.
So it's really nice.
And we just built other policies within the custom buttons. So
Very cool, very cool. I had a lot of questions about the support app. And once again, Root 3 is the company, and you can find it on GitHub. Another question that came in, how do you duplicate or clone the test server into production?
So that's still, it's like a little bit different. So we've used a couple of things. We have to use Jamf CPR. We've been doing stuff with Jamf Migrator. And we're also trying to see if we can do something with just codifying it, so it's something with GitHub. So we're trying different things right now to figure out what will be the best solution. The one thing with Jamf Migrator is you have to be very careful with dependencies. If you're trying to copy stuff over and there's, for example, smart groups that depend on other smart groups, if things are not already there, things will break. And for other things, depending on what it is, if things have to go through cab, I know I've done some things that it's just been easier to just me do it manually, like copy a script or something, whatever. But that's why we're trying to figure out a way to just code it out. I know Kyle has been looking at something in GitHub called Jamf Scripts, I believe is what it was called. Well, the point is that you can kind of connect it to your servers so that you can do a pull request and keep track of changes in code so that you can move it up and down from the servers. So it's kind of a mix of like some things are manual, some things are automated, and just kind of depends on what's easiest at that point.
Makes sense. A related question that came in as well. What mechanics and workflows have you developed to unify the origin tenants into the new tenant?
Wait, can you repeat that?
Yeah, absolutely. How did you merge the multiple tenants, the origins that you had, into the central space?
So for that, the migration is, the goal of it is just to move the computers. So a lot of the workflows and things that they have, we had to take a look and see, okay, are these being already duplicated across everyone? Is this something that we can just copy and it's good enough for it to be in the big central server, or do we have to revamp it a little bit and make sure that it's good for everybody else, you know? There were a lot of compliance stuff that we ended up just preparing in advance, and then as computers were just coming in, they were just grabbing it. So the workflows that were in the other servers, if they're like very, very unique and they're specific to something that is mission critical for them, we had to work with them to move it over. But otherwise, the migration process is just making sure that computer moves from server A to server B. And then after that is when we started figuring out what else they needed for to make sure that things kept working as they have or better. I don't know if that answers the question for that. Hopefully.
It did for me. I had a question that came in, and there's quite a few questions that keep coming in. How did you handle mobile devices during migration? And did you have to fully wipe the devices, or were you able to find another way?
Yep. In order to move them between servers, it is a full wipe, unfortunately. And that's just kind of a limitation of iOS. At least to get it fully managed and supervised.
Yep, with that non-removable MDM profile, right?
Yep.
That's very important. Okay, there was a question about the package for migration. It's actually a couple of questions in here. Was it a quick add package, and how did you automate removing any old profiles that were installed? And did you use and remove MDM framework command?
We did not use the remove MDM framework command. Do not do that. That'll break your binary, and then you won't be able to migrate anything. For that, though, there was a process where we had to go through the profiles on each individual server and look at what they were doing, and we had to create other profiles that allow for the removal, if I'm not mistaken, for that. And then what was the other first part of that?
You covered the removal. They asked if it was a quick add package.
Okay, it was not. Yeah, it was a UMAT package, which is also it's a modified version of that at this point.
Yeah,
but
modified.
Yeah, very modified version of the UMAT package that is also a GitHub open source thing that you can find online.
Perfect. Are your test users machines in both production and test tenant, or can the machine be in only one tenant in Jamf?
Can only be in one tenant at any given time.
Yeah.
Excellent. At least for management, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Has Chrome's change to weekly updates affected your Installator-based patch management workflow?
I mean, it has basically kind of stayed the same, where we have a control that it must be on the latest version within a month. So hopefully people close it, but we know that that doesn't happen. But I mean, for now, we've stayed with the same workflow. We're looking at kind of different things we can do with it, but for now, it stays within the control to where we can keep doing that.
Perfect. Had a couple of questions, and maybe just worth restating. They were around the Make Me Admin workflow. Can you tell us again where you got it and how you use it?
So it's built on the SAP Privileges app, which is also on GitHub. I'm sure a lot of Mac admins have seen that. There's actually a little bit of a how-to of how to use it within the support app on their wiki. So it's basically built on, I think it's like 3 or 4 scripts that read, I think it's a plist inside of there that says, are they an admin or not? And then it says, make them whatever the opposite is, shows what it did, and then reflects back to the support app, but also changes the privileges app too, so that way it reflects on both sides no matter what they're doing.
And fun fact, we're also keeping track of the changes in admin and Jamf Protect.
Yeah.
Because there is also a GitHub for that that has a analytic that tracks that change in admin role.
Yeah, so we're still getting the logs no matter which one they use, and so that way if there's some bad actors, we can see what they did and when they did it.
Perfect. I just realized I can actually mark these as answered and clear them from my screen. This is a lot easier now. Okay, got that question answered. How did you manage individual machines missing items for migrations, or if they failed to migrate? Did you have to involve IT support in those cases?
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, I mean, there's things that can be pushed from server side to try to resolve issues, but there's always those times whenever if you can't contact them over the binary, you can't contact them over the Apple Push Network. Somebody's got to head out.
there's also another part to that. So if they actually needed like our help, like really, really bad, we've been in a Zoom meeting for a very long time that people can come in and we can remote into this computer, troubleshoot, look at logs, and try to make it go through, install anything that's needed. So like a little bit more, like, yeah,
Is that like an open office hours for migration support then? or-
pretty much, yeah.
That's really cool. Really smart. A few more questions, and we might be getting near the end. Expand. Did you migrate application licenses in Apple School Manager at the same time that you were moving computers and devices? And follow up, did you have to time that with each group that was migrating?
For a lot of the free apps, we just kind of scaled it, bought some stuff as migrations were going, and then started pulling from the existing sites. Luckily, most of the actual paid apps coming through VPP were in labs, so it was real easy to make the switch as they came over.
Perfect. Okay, last two. Did you consider or have you used the Jamf professional services to migrate the devices from the Jamf instances into the unified one? And I did not see this question, even though I do sell pro services.
So we did talk to them like at the beginning of the migration. We've talked to them for like some Jamf Protect stuff, but a lot of our stuff we did with one of our Jamf partners, the Jamf partners Mesa. And so we actually have a bunch of like pro service hours that we still need to use, but we're using them for like a lot more specific, like in-depth stuff. And if we did run into some weird issues, and we just like needed something like ASAP, like we did contact support hours and stuff like that. But a lot of it we've kind of done ourselves, to be honest.
Cool.
Both has been super helpful, so would recommend.
Okay, would recommend pro services and Jamf support. Write that down. And to recap, they did not use pro services for the migration itself, but they have and are using pro services for other things. Last question. Did you offer any incentive or swag to the end users to get them to accept the new MDM prompt in a timely
We offered
fashion?
them admin rights.
Admin rights and sweet apps. Okay, are there any other questions in the room? If not, I think that is good bull, and we're great session. Thank you very, very much for being here.
Thank you.
Hope you all enjoyed the last
Appreciate
day
it.
of JNUC.